tense and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Movies in the 80s were some of the main sources of entertainment that every kid and every adult would have. There would be movies that changed the way we watch movies to this very day. Talking about the movies you watch over the weekend at a theater was a daily lunchtime conversation. There would be movies based off of any topic, and productions would hire directors and writers to make them into movies. Usually would take them like a year or so to make and release it to the world. Later, the trend would continue to the 90s, but production time would take longer, going from about a year of production to then about a year and a half to even 2 years. There were plenty of movies back then in the 80s that were later re-released to the public on a Blu-ray DVD or to an old retro theater. I myself would prefer to buy them on a VHS tape on eBay. And yes, people still use VHS tapes. Movies that were to get audiences' attention mostly because of sponsorships for toy companies and fast food restaurants that would also have toys for kids' meals. There would also be commercials that were usually 30 seconds, but they were insane. Whether I would watch these commercials, it would get me even more excited to buy the VHS tape and see the movie. Most of the genres that would come out would be mostly action-adventure and sci-fi. There were horror movies as well that would come out, but they weren't really that popular back then, compared to modern times when whenever you watch a TV commercial for movies, it would have a great handful of horror movies. Great movies from the 1980s to the 1990s had reputations that would cause any remake based off the original creation would get hated by the media. Movies such as Back to the Future, Pulp Fiction, E.T., The Breakfast Club, Star Wars, and Ghostbusters. No, not that Ghostbusters. I'm talking about this Ghostbusters, made in 1984. Ghostbusters was one of the funniest movies that ever came out in the 20th century. The movie started out with the famous song made by Ray Parker Jr. The movie was also directed by Paul Feig, who also directed such known movies such as Spy, Bad Teacher, and for the kids, Charlie Brown, which is now retitled as the Peanuts movie. The movie stars a group of successful actors, mostly that still act to this very day. The actors are Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, Rick Morales, and Sigourney Weaver, who also acted in Alien and Avatar. There we go. Harold Ramis also acted as Egan in the movie, but unfortunately he died in 2014. A great and powerful man with a tragic ending. The movie, without giving any spoilers, is about a group of scientists discovering the paranormal activity of ghosts in a library and believe that there are more ghosts out in the world. It wasn't the action that got our attention, it was more of the comedy. I really think you should watch it for yourself. The characters were just as funny, and in my opinion, and my favorite character of all time is Winston, which is played by Ernie Hudson. However, with any movie that was very successful, a game was in the process of being made. Now, with that being said, the concept of video games based off of movies was a great idea for the time, but it only turned a great idea into a terrible product. Let me introduce Ghostbusters for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was made in 1988. 4 years after the original movie was released. And would you believe that this game was released in October? Finally, a game that was released in October. With 4 years of production for this game, you would think it would come out a great game. Well, is it great? Huh. Well, let me ask you guys a question. Who are you gonna call? Yeah, Ghostbusters. So this is it. This is the main hub for the game. The graphics look so dull and boring. Everything is either black, gray, or blue. On the bottom of the screen, you either have a PK energy meter or a money meter. After a certain period of time, one of the buildings will flash red, indicating you that there's a ghost. Then there's a white square, which I have no clue what it does. Alright, what's happening here? I have no clue who I'm controlling. Well, after a certain amount of time, I finally figured out. Guess who I'm controlling? You see that white Ghostbusters logo? Yeah, that's who I'm controlling. Why the logo of the Ghostbusters movie? That doesn't make any sense. First of all, there are only 4 Ghostbusters in the whole entire movie, and they didn't even choose one of them. And it's not like the NES is incapable of doing stuff like that. Remember Super Mario Bros. 3? On the hub world, you actually control Mario and Luigi. That's it. Remember the Ecto-1? The car that the Ghostbusters used to travel around the city? Why not I control that? But no, I'm playing as a logo trying to play freeze tag with a bunch of ghosts.
The ghosts themselves are the most disappointing enemies in the entire game. They look like the cliche type of cardboard cutout ghosts that kids would use around their doors for decoration. But now that I've critiqued about the graphics, let's move on to something else. So here's what you do. That white square I established previously, that's your inventory box. Where you go to get your inventory, the Ghostbusters Shop. Why is there a Ghostbusters equipment shop? I thought the Ghostbusters made their own inventions. That's what happened in the movie. It's so inaccurate. Well, at least they acknowledge the Ghostbusters equipment, such as the ghost trap, and that's basically it. Most of the items were made up except for the proton packs, which the game describes as a hyper beam. What is this, Pokemon? Huh, that's funny. You might as well have the Ghostbusters logo with Pokemon on it saying, Pokemon Ghostbusters, gotta catch 'em all. But what's even more ridiculous is how you progress through the game. The buildings are gonna start flashing red after a certain amount of time passes. You open up your white box and there you can see your items. Now you can go into the buildings and try to catch ghosts. You go through a short or long driving stage and there you can fight the ghosts. But look at the stage itself. This is the best they can come up with? If I were to go to a different building, the stage will look exactly the same. No change whatsoever. And now we can use our proton packs. The beams themselves are very too short. Look at this, I can't even reach the ghost. I have to wait till he comes down and then I can catch him. In the movie, at least from what I understand, the beams are very, very, very long. In fact, I think they're endless. So why cut them down to short? Now whatever you do, and this is very, very important, don't cross the streams. Trust me, imagine all life as you know it exploding into little bits and pieces of matter. So intense. And you know, why is the Ghostbusters theme song still playing? It'd be nice if it was used for the title or for the first stage, but no. It's the only song throughout the whole entire game, and it never, ever stops. It starts where the game begins, all the way through where you fight Gozer. At least this game acknowledged Gozer. After you catch a couple ghosts, depending on which trap you buy, you go to the Ghostbusters Headquarters and you empty the trap. At least they fall down in the movie. But going to the Ghostbusters Headquarters is a serious problem. The driving stages are a total mess. Every time when you enter in a driving stage to go to a building, the Zool building or the Ghostbusters Headquarters, you drive on just a straight, narrow road. There will be drunk drivers which are trying their absolute best to hit you. There wasn't a time where I didn't hit one of the drunk drivers. And how do I know that they're drunk? Well, they're swerving all over the road and they keep hitting me constantly. And who pays for the damage? You think they do? No, of course not. You do. And the amount of money that's used to repair the damages is insane. Hey, I guess that's a good lesson for people. Don't drink and drive at the same time. And you know what's even worse? The thing runs on gas. Yeah, they actually have gas in this game. And when you run out of gas, where do you go? The gas station. But once you're about to go there, it doesn't refill up your gas. It still makes you run to the gas station to fill up your tank. And other times they put gas on the road, and once you touch the gas, it automatically refills your tank, making it pointless to go to the gas station. Why would they do that? So I guess it's supposed to be realistic, like saying, hey, this is what happens when you drive a car. That's fine, but here's the question. Why did they put that in the game? And when you run out of gas, you start all the way back from the hub world all over again. And if you missed the call for the Zool building, yeah, the Zool building, you can't beat the game.
I can't take it anymore. Just the fact that you have to do all those assignments constantly, just to enter in the Zool building is an enormous chore. It shouldn't even be called the Zool building. I've already established how the game barely has anything to do with the movie, but it's just unnecessary. I doubt it gets better at this point, and I'm just willing to see what else they can come up with.
I'm not trying to find flaws or nitpick. This is my honest opinion of what it was like when I was playing this game for the first time. After a certain amount of time passes, you actually can go inside the Zool building. But once you go in the Zool building, you can't use your proton packs. You can't even attack. All you can do is use your ghost food to get past the ghosts. And when you do get to this stage, the one thing that will hurt you the most is the controls. The controls are terrible once you get to this stage. First of all, you can't move with your D-pad like you could before. To move, You have to tap the A button constantly a billion times in order to move. If you try holding down the button, it doesn't work. You have to keep tapping the button in order to reach the top. And unlike the ghosts in the previous stages, these ones hurt you. After you take 3 hits, you start all over from all the way back to beginning of the game. No extra lives, no continues, no nothing. Imagine how long it took me to go through all these stages and then all the way to the Zool building and then all the way to get a game over. Forget it.
Tapping the A button really wears on your thumbs, and you think you can just hold down the A button and then it automatically walks for you? Of course not. Trying to beat this game is as hard as real Wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies, rivers and seas boiling, 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. But however, there will always be a glitch.
Oh man, I'm going completely insane. But yeah, like I stated before, there is a glitch. Once you get to the stairs, you only have to get hit 2 times, and then go up to the 4th door by pressing A. Yeah, the A, not up. You then get hit. But then, after you get hit, you have invincibility. I don't know if it lasts forever, or if it's until you take a certain amount of hits. And how do you drop the food? Take a wild guess what button you have to press. The start button. You have to press the start button to drop the food. The start button should be only used for one thing. One G-sting thing. To pause the game. Huh, you see that? That's me pressing the select button accidentally to pause the game, instead of me using the start button. Oh my gosh, my thumb is so sore from tapping the A button multiple times. I finally did the glitch though. Even though if I still did the glitch, that still means it takes all day just to get up the stairs. The stairs themselves seems to be one of the problems of this stage. And I counted it, there's 22 floors. You think that's enough? I mean, were the game designers just smashing ice cubes on their heads? And then they run? They walk slower than Gary the Snail, and then all of a sudden they run? Like, what was their hurry? Well, here's the last screen of the game, the final boss, Gozer. And honestly, it looks pretty decent. But the only problem, you move as if you're on a grid. And even worse, if you go back too far, you see Stay Puft Marshmallow Man trying to climb the Zool building, and then, yeah, game over. What do you expect? But that only happens when you go too far back, so as long as you don't do that many times, you should be good. Another thing that's really annoying, every time when you try to shoot Gozer, a ghost would pop up right in his face, blocking your shot. And keep in mind, this happens all the time, so you're constantly paying attention to the ghosts, while also paying attention to Gozer. And the dogs, of course. Hey, I could name the dogs too. There's Vince Clortho and Zool. Zool apparently bought the building. And you know what's even more ridiculous? They spelled Zool wrong. Yeah, look up Zool. It's spelled Z-U-U-L, not Z-O-O-L. Anyway, let's beat this game, because I'm sick of it. Alright, come on, Gozer. I know you're there. Come on. Jeez, trying to pay attention to everything on the screen is ridiculous. Yeah, I got him! Wait, is my Nintendo glitching again? What? Are you serious?
Congratulation? Congratulation? Are you kidding me? On the ending screen, most of the words are spelled wrong. And it's not like one of those mistakes where it happens once. There are several spelling errors. If I was a teacher and I was grading this whole project, what grade would I give it? I'd probably give it a D-. But seeing how this game made me waste hours of playing time for a pointless screen, I'm giving it a 20%. F-. Well, that's it. Even though this game is incredibly flawed, it still does have a place in people's hearts as the first Ghostbusters game ever to be released. Months later, the Atari 2600 would give it a try, and then the Sega Master System. And you know what's funny? The end screen is on the newer Ghostbusters game for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Well, with that said, Ghostbusters was a great movie. If you haven't already seen the 1984 version, I advise you to see it. And I'm not talking about the 2016 version either. I'm talking about the 1984. I'm Donnie Bryan, and I'll see you next time on Historics. Game on.